Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Patrick, and I'm the Digital Marketing Executive of the Indian Cybersecurity Solutions. Welcome to our masterclass on cyber forensic. Today, we have Mr. Piyush Kundu, who is an expert in the field of digital forensic with a 1 year experience on working with the Delhi CBI. He's going to explain to you about the importance of cyber forensic as well as how to pass the global certification exam that will help you to get government jobs. So, Mr. Piyush, please take over the platform.
Thank you, Patrick. So today is a master class of digital forensic, and it is and there are many points which is highlighted in today's topic. Number one, how to pass the CHFI certifications of digital forensic from EC Council. The second point is what are the jobs opportunities after doing this course of digital forensic, and the third topic is the importance of digital forensics in modern world. Okay, so I come from the first, there is a great quote given by the scientist named Edmund Locard. Now he said that when a person comes into contact with an object or the another person, cross transfer of physical evidences can occur, which is also known as the principle of exchange in the forensic field. Now the introductions part in the digital forensic field, which is also known as the computer forensic investigation, will give you an overview structural idea about the digital forensic now, and how it can be apply on the practical field, and it will introduce you to the world of digital forensics, and that is applying forensic science in the digital artifacts that we have created every day through our interactions with computers, mobile phones, and unseen objects around us. And also the latest thing in the today's world is a IoT, that is the Internet of Things. Now, what is forensic science? Now, digital forensic is basically a part of a forensic science. Now, the word forensic comes from the Latin word which is known as the forensis, which is the meaning of the one or before the forum, and the history of the term originates from the Roman times when a criminal charge mean to presenting the cases before the grouping of the public individuals in the forum. Both the person which is accused of the crime and the accuser would give the speeches based on the story and the side of the story. The case would be decided in the favor of the individuals with the best arguments and delivery. Now, this origin is a source of the two modern uses of the word forensic as a form of the legal evidences and as a category of the public presentation. Now, in a simple sentence or in a simple manner or in a layman term, you can say anything. Now, if we define the forensic science, now, forensic science is nothing but an application of a science of any sciences which is related to the use of the court of law or used in the court of law. This is known as the forensic science. Now, what is a digital forensic? Now, I have told you that digital forensic is a part of a forensic science. Now, digital forensic is a branch of the forensic science that focuses on the recovery and the investigations of the material found in the digital evidences related to the cybercrime. Now, the term cyber forensic and the digital forensic was first introduced and synonym for the computer forensic. Now, since and then it has been expanded to the cover of the investigations of any devices, and that can be stored the digital data. Now, the first computer forensic was reported in 1978, which is it is in clearly 21st century that the national policies of the digital evidences has been required. The digital forensic is a process of identifying, preserving, analyzing, and the documenting of the digital evidences. This is the done in order to the present evidences in the court of law when required. Now, what are the steps of the digital forensic? Now, in order of the digital forensics to be accepted in the court of law, it must be handled in very specific way so that there is an opportunity of a cyber criminal of the tampered with the evidences. Now, there are a few steps involved in the digital forensic. Now, the first step is the identification part. Now, the first, the find the evidences where it has been stored, present preservation. Now, next, isolate and secure the preserved data. This includes preventing the people from possibly the tampering with the evidences. Now, third is the analyzing part. Now, next, the reconstructions and the fragments of the data and the draw the conclusion based on the evidences that we have found. Now, fourth is the documentation part. Now, create a record of all the data to recreate the crime scene. And last part, which is the very most important part in the digital forensic, is a representation part. Now, lastly, summarize and draw a conclusion of the crime scene which has been happened. Now, who is the digital forensic investigator? Uh, uh, now, digital forensic is done by an investigator who investigate the what are the crime scene happen in the crime. Now, who is known as a digital forensic investigator? Now, a digital forensic investigator is a person who has a desire to follow the evidences and solve the crime virtually. Now, imagine a security breach has been happened at a company, resulting in the stolen of data. In this situation, the computer forensic analysis would come and determine how that attackers gained access to the network. Now, whether they took the informations or planned any malware on it or not. Now, under those circumstances, a digital forensic investigator role is to recover the data like the photos, emails, documents from the computer hard drives, other storage devices such as zip file, flash drives, or with the deleted or the damage or otherwise has been the manipulated. Now, how is the digital forensics used in investigation? Okay, so how is the digital forensic? I think there's some technical issues that we have got, so it has been cut it out. Now, fine. How is the digital forensic is used in an investigation process? Now, the digital footprint is the information about the person on the system, such as the web pages they have visited. Now, when they were active, their what the devices they are using. By the following on the digital footprint, the investigators will escape the data critical to the solving the crime cases. Now, the cyber forensic investigators are the experts in investigating the encrypted data using the various types of the software and tools, and there are many upcoming techniques that investigators depends on the type of the cyber crime they are dealing with. Now, cyber investigator tasks is to include the recovering of deleted data, files, cracking of passwords, finding the sources of data breaches once located, and the collected the evidences is then stored and translated to make it in a presentable way before the court of law or the police to the examine further. Now, the phase of the digital forensic is the first response, the action performed right after the occurrence of the security incident is also known as the first response. Now, it is a highly dependable on the nature of the incident. The phase two is the search and seizure. Under these phases, the professionals search for the devices involving in carrying out the crime. Now, these devices are then carefully seized to extract the information out of them. Now, phases three is collect the evidences. Now, all the search and seizure phases, professionals use the acquired devices to collect the data, and they were well-defined forensic method for the evidence handling. Now, the fourth phases is a secure the evidences. The forensic staff should have access to a safe environment where they can secure the evidences, and they determine if the collected data is accurate, authentic, and accessible. Now, the phase five is the data acquisitions. Now, data acquisition is a process of retrieving the electronically stored information, that is a ESI, in a super digital aspects, and it is a help for the gaining the insight into the incident when an improper process can alter the data, thus sacrificing the integrity of the evidences. Now, the phase six is the data analysis. Under data analysis, the accountable staff can scan the acquired data to identify the evidential information, and that can be presented on a court. And this phase is about the examination, identifying and separating and converting the modeling data to transform the useful informations. Now, evidence assessment is the seventh phase. The process of evidence assessment relates to the evidential data to the incident, to the security incident, and there should be through the assessment based on the scope of cases. Now, the phase 8 is a documentation and reporting. Now, this is a post investigation phase that covers the reporting and documentation of all the findings. Also, the report should be have adequate and accepted evidences in accordance to the court of law. And the phases 9, they testify as a expert witness. The forensic investigator should approach as the expert witness to affirm the accuracy of the evidences. Accuracy of the evidences. Now, the forensic expert should approach and the expert witness should be a professional who investigate the crime to retrieve the evidences. Now, cybercrime. It is the biggest causes right now in the modern world. That is cybercrime. Now, how you can define the cybercrime? Now, cybercrime define any illegal act involving in a computer or a system or its application is known as cybercrime. Now, cybercrime should be an intentional way. It cannot be in an accidental way. Now, cybercrime is divided into 3 factor which is involved the cybercrime happen. Now, number one is a tool of crime. The second one is a target of the crime, and third is a tangential of the crime. Now, the examples of the cybercrime, the few examples involved in the cybercrime in the modern days are the theft of the intellectual properties, damages of computer services network, financial fraud, hacking system penetrations, denial of service attack, landing of viruses in the worms. These are all of the cyber attacks in the modern days field. Now, the modes of attack. Now, what are the modes of attack in cybercrime? Now, cybercrime falls into the 2 categories depending upon the way and the attack take places. Now, the two things are one is the inside attack and the second is a external attack. Now, the source of the digital evidences. What are the source and what are the source of the digital evidences? Now, first one is devices and the types of the potential evidences we have. Now, the digital video cameras, pictures, videos, files stored locally on the media cards, cell phones, we get text messages, call logs, application use, social media accounts, everything from the all categories. Computer and laptop, everything from all categories, social media accounts, internet search histories, documents, mail, etc. And the mobile devices is everything from all categories, application used, social media accounts, game consoles, that is the pictures, videos, and documents, file storage, that is the hard drives, thumb drives, and optical media, everything from the all categories, internet of things, that is interactive guide, where variable items, that is the locations, we can got the locations and the apps used. Law enforcement agencies also can generate digital evidences, which is the few other different types of evidences that we collect in the digital forensic. Number one is the automated license plate readers, that is the LPRs, license plate images, that is the pictures of the cars, geolocation, metadata in the cars, the body worn cameras, videos, unarmed vehicle, very systems, that is the drones. We get videos from the drones and the interview recordings, room recording system, that is the video and audio recordings, closed circuit television, that is CCTVs. We get videos and the teasers, that is data files. Now, how the digital evidence or electronic evidences were collected? It is the biggest question in the biggest curious question in the digital forensic platform, and how the digital evidences of electronic evidences were collected. Now, when you enter on the scene of crime, as anyone who has dropped his cell phone on a lake and had the computer damaged in a move or a thunderstorm knows, the digitally stored information is very sensitive and easily can be lost. Now, there are general best practices to properly seize the devices and computer. Once the scene has been secured and legal authority to seize the evidences has been confirmed, the devices can be collected. Any passwords, codes, or pins should be gathered from the individual involved if the possible associated chargers, cables, peripherals, manuals, and should be collected at the thumb drive, cell phones, hard drive, and it likes to be the examined using the different tools and technique, and it is the most often done in a specialized laboratories. Now, the first responders take to the special care with the digital evidences in addition to the normal evidences collection procedure to prevent the exposure of things like the extreme temperature, static electricity, and the moisture. Now, the number one point is the seizing of the mobile devices. Now, devices should be turned off immediately, and the battery should be removed if possible. Now, turning off the phone preserves cell towers location informations and the call logs, and prevent the phone from being used, and which could be the change in the data of the phone. Now, in addition, if the data remains on, remote destruction command could be used without the investigator's knowledge. Some phones have the automatic timer to turn on, and the phones for the updates, which could compromise the data. So, battery removal is very much optimal process. Now, if the devices cannot be turned off, then it must be isolated from its cell tower by placing it in the Faraday bag or other the blocking materials. Now, set to the airplane mode or the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth or other communication as a system must be disabled. The digital devices should be placed in the anti-static packaging, such as the paper bags and blobs or the cardboard boxes. The plastic should be avoided as it can convert with static electricity or allowed to build up the consideration for the humidity. Now, in the emergencies, the life-threatening situations, informations about the phone can be removed and saved at the scene. Can create a great care must be taken in the documentation of the action and the present and the preservation of the data. Now, when sending the digital devices into the laboratory, investigators must indicate the type of information being sought out. For the instance of the cell phone numbers, call histories, cell phones, emails, documents, and messages for the computer, or the images on the tablet. Seizing on the stun alarm, the computer and the equipment to prevent the adulterations of the digital evidences during the collection. The first response should be the first document and any activity on the computer and the components or the devices by taking the photograph and recording on any information on the screen. Now, the responders may move a mouse without the pressing the button on the moving wheel and determine if something happens in the screen. If the computer is on, the calling on the computer forensic expert is highly recommended. Now, as the connection to the criminal activity must be lost, and turning off the deleting, the removing, and wiping out the information, the power of the computer should be disconnected immediately to preserve whatever has been left on the machine. Now, the in the office environment, which is it is very much a challenging position now. Situation due to the networking potential loss of evidences, liabilities to the agencies outside of the criminal investigation. For the instance, if the server is turned off during the seizure, that is providing a service or to outside the customer, the loss of the services to the customer may be very much damaging. In addition to the office equipment, and that could be contain the evidence such as the copiers, scanner, security cameras, facsimile machines, pagers, and caller IDs units should be collected. Now, what are the procedure? What are the procedure ensure that digital evidences remain unchanged or the handling of the digital evidences? Now, evidences handling has a four primary areas in the incident response activity of these areas as follow: the collection, which has to do with the searching of the evidences, recognitions and collection of the evidence, and documenting the items of the evidences. Always ensure the collections of includes all the available data and resources such as the whole disk drive, not just the use of portions. Always document the place, time, and circumstance of each data item has been collected to the evidences. The second part is a hardware evidences examination, which has to do with the origin, significance, and the visibility of the evidences. Often can reveal the hidden or the obscuring of the informations and documentations without the evidences, the dimension, style, size, manufacturers of the hard drives, other devices of the networks items are all of the important evidence items. Now, softwares and network evidence analysis. Now, which is where the logs, records, software evidence is all actually examined for the incident of the providing the significance criteria for the inclusions and the probationary period of the value of the evidences. And always conduct this software and network analysis and the interpretation and separate from the hardware evidences examinations. Now, the fourth part is evidence reporting. It must be the a written document with the process and procedure outlined and explained in detail with the report. Now, important with the fact the data recovered in the primary key of the this report, understanding the documentation. Reports will always be reviewed, critiqued, and maybe course examined. Now, what are the mobile evidences? Now, in mobile, what are the evidences we can get in the digital forensic field? Now, number one is a text messages. Now, whether it is a regular text or the iMessages, photos, or chat sent to the social media apps. Now, text messages can convey the conversation for the plans of the criminal activity. Phone records, many cases, hinge to the suspect who have the call or the received the call from during a suspect of the time frame. Browse the search history, just like the forensic investigators search the browser history on the laptops, desktop. They can also get the more accurate pictures of our activities based on the searches you can conduct on the mobile devices. GPS locations. Today's cell phones are well equipped with the GPS tools, and investigators can always track your location using the tool that show where is your phone and what is the relation between the nearby cell phone towers. The fourth is the application of data. Now, some suspected criminals are using the applications like the Snapchat to do the things like send and receive the child pornography. Because of the data from the Snapchat disappear after being sent, it is a harder throughout. It is harder, though it is not the impossible way. Now, for the law enforcement to track down it, other apps may be also been contain the data, and that could be the criminal investigation process. Why for the Bluetooth? Because the making of the connections to either these of the can be pinpointed to our location to the particular times. It can also the damning the evidences against you to the criminal matter. Multimedia. One of the reason we love today's smartphone is because of the photos, videos, audio capabilities presents. Now, all of this can contain the evidences. Police may be looking for these investigation cases. Now, device file, whether you have saved a document with the list of credit card numbers, it do not belongs to you. You are just received and saved. Say pictures of a stolen property, and these stored files can be considered as the digital evidences. Now, deleted data. That's right, the photos, voicemails, text, even the devices files that suspected attempt to delete the to cover up the criminal. They cover up the criminal activities and can still be recovered by the forensic specialist. Now, the brief detail about the mobile forensic is the importance. What are the importance involved in the mobile forensic field? Now, the term mobile device encompasses a wide array of gadgets and ranging from the mobile phones, smartphones, tablets, and GPS units, wearable items, and PDAs. What they all have in common is the fact that they contain a lot of users information. Now, the mobile devices are the right in the middle of these three booming technological trends. Number one is the IoT, second is cloud computing, and third is a big data. The proliferations of the mobile technology is perhaps the main reason, or at least one of the main reason for this the trend of to occur for the first place. Nowadays, the mobile devices uses in the pre-invasive, and it is helpful especially in the context of the digital forensic because they are very much small size machine, a huge mass of quantity of data on daily basis which can be extracted and facilitate the investigation, being something like a digital extension of ourselves. And these machines allow digital forensic investigator to glean lots of information. Now, what are the steps of the mobile forensic process? The first step for the mobile forensic process is a seizure. Now, the digital forensic operates on the principle, and these evidences that evidences should always be adequate, preserved, and processed, admissible in the court of law. Now, some of the legal considerations go in hand to hand with the confiscation of the mobile devices, and there are two major risks concerning for these the phases of the mobile forensic. The mobile forensic is the mobile devices, and these are two main risks concerning the phase of the mobile forensic process. The number one is a lock activation by the user, suspects, and independent of third party, and second is a network cellular connections. And the first one is a network isolation is always been advisable. It could be archived either through the mobile airplane mode or disabling of the Wi-Fi and hotspot, the cloning of the devices, the SIM cards. European mode, the mobile devices are often been seized and switched on and since the purpose of the configuration is preserved and evidences the best way to transport them to attempt to keep them turned in order to avoid a shutdown which would be innovative in an alteration of the files. Now, the Faraday bag is an external power supply, common use of the equipment of the conducting the mobile forensic, while the former is a container specifically designed to isolate the mobile devices from the network communication and at the same time help with the self-transportation evidences to the laboratory. The latter is a power source is embedded inside the Faraday box, and before putting the phones into the Faraday bags, the disconnecting it into the network, disable all the network connections, Wi-Fi, GPS, and hotspot, etc. And the activate the flight mode is to protect the integrity of the evidences. Last but not the least, investigators should aware of the be aware of the mobile devices being connected to unknown incident devices as well as other the booby traps set to the quasi harm, bodily death, and anyone to the cyber to the criminal to the crime scene. Now, second part is the acquisition part. The identification and the extraction. The goal of this phase is to retrieve the data from the mobile devices. A lock screen can be unlocked with the right pins, password, patterns, biometric passcodes, and which are protected, and fingerprints are not. But also the similar lock measures may be exist onto the app, images, SMS onto the messengers. The encryptions, on the other hand, provides the security on the software and the hardware, which leaves a level that is impossible to circumvent. Now, it is very hard to be control the data on the mobile devices because the data is mobile as well. The once the communication or the files are sent to the smartphone, the control is a considerable amount of data. And the data in itself may be physically be another location. It can be example to the data of the synchronizations of the other devices, and application can take also directly to the wire to the clouds. Services can be the Apple iCloud, Microsoft OneDrive, and should be prevalent of the data, such as Apple iCloud, which is opened in the possible data acquisition from there. For that, the reason the investigator should be attentive to any indications of the data. Indication of the data may transcend the mobile devices to the physical objects. because such as occurrences occur since the data is constantly being synchronized. Hardware and software may be able to bridge the data gap. For example, if you take the example of this data gap, now the Uber, as we all know, the Uber is the biggest app, and both an app and fully functional website is also present for the Uber also. Now all the information that can be accessed through the Uber app or on a phone, that may be pulled off to the Uber the website instead, and or even the Uber the software program installed on the computer also. Now regardless of this type of the devices, identifying the location of the data can be further implemented due to the fragmentation of the operating systems, item specifications, open source Android operating systems, along with comes with the several different versions. Like even in the Apple's iOS, may vary from the versions to versions. Another challenges that forensic experts needs to overcome is abundant and even challenging landscape to the mobile apps. Now create a full list of the installed app. Some apps have been archived and backup data. Once identify the data sources, the next step is to collect the information property, and there are certain unique challenges concerning the gathered information in the context of the mobile technology. Now the many of the mobile devices cannot be collected by creating an image, and instead of this can undergo the process called the acquisition of data. And there are various protocols for the collecting the data for the mobile devices. Is certain design and specifications may allow one of the acquisitions the forensic examiner should make, and the use of the SIM card imaging procedure that recreate the replica image of the SIM card content. And as all other replicas, the original evidences will remain intact while the replica image is being used for the analysis. Now all image file should be hashed and ensure the data remain accurate and unchanged. Move on to the third part of the mobile evidences, that is examination analysis. As the first step of the every digital investigations involves in the mobile devices, the forensic experts needs to identify the types of the mobile devices. Example, the GPS, smartphones, tablets, etc. The types of the types of network, GSM, CDM, and TDMS, carriers, self providers, reverse lookup, etc. The examiners may use to the numerous forensic tool to acquire the analysis and data deciding for this machine. And due to the sheer diversity of the mobile devices, and that the one size fits all the solution regarding to the mobile devices, mobile forensic tool consecutively, and consequently also it is an advisable to more than one of the tool for the examination, that is the access data, stealth kit, and encase are the some of the popular forensic software products that has been analytically capabilities, analytic capabilities, and the most appropriate tool is being chosen and dependent on the type of the model to the mobile devices. Now timeline and the link analysis available in the mobile forensic tool could be tied to each of the most significant event from the digital forensic point of view. Now, all the information, evidences, and other findings extracted, analyzed, and documented throughout the investigation should be presented to any another forensic examination of the court, or to the clear and the concise, complete manner. Now, computer forensic is the investigation process model. Now, the acquisition, identifications, and the evaluation, admission as a evidences. Obviously, the model presenting in the computer forensic process investigation process for the digital evidences and for the digital forensic evidences is identification, collection, preservation, and the examination, analysis, and the presentation. Investigation process for the digital forensic science, the mobile forensic tool classification method is a microchip reader, micro-read chip of the text stamp, and Jtag method of the logical extraction and the manual extraction. Now the tool classification, you can see the tool classification pyramid. It is an investigation process for the digital forensic examination, and the thing which is the non-invasive method. The non-invasive method can deals with the other tasks such as unlocking the SIM card, SIM locks, operation log, operation system update, IMEI number modifications. This technique are virtually inapplicable in the case where the devices have been sustained for the severe physical damage. Now, type of the non-invasive mobile invasive mobile forensic method is a manual extractions. The forensic examiners merely browses through the data using the mobile device's touchscreen or the keypads. Information to the interest on discovered on the phone is photographically documented, and this process of the manual extraction is simple and applicable to the most almost every phone. While there are some of the tools are designed to make this process easier, it is not possible, however, to restore the deleted data in this way. Yeah, first, then second one is the logical extraction. Now, this approach involves instituting a connection between the mobile devices and the forensic workstation. This is a USB cable, Bluetooth, infrared, RJ45 cable. Following the connection connectivity part, the connecting part, the computer sends the command request to the devices, and the devices send back the data from its memory. The majority of the forensic tool and the support logical extraction, the process is required the short-term training. On the outside down, the technique has been added to the mobile devices and may alter the integrity of the evidences, and also the digital data is rarely accessible. The Jtag method. The Jtag method is a non-invasive form of the physical acquisition. The physical acquisition and could be extracted the data from the mobile devices. Even the data is been difficult to access to the software because the devices has been damaged, locked. It can be encrypted. The devices, however, it should be the less partially functionable. The minor damages would be hinders this method. The process involving in the connecting to the access to the test access port or the taps on the devices and instructing the processors to transfer the raw data stored on the connected memory chips. Now, this is a standard feature of one could come across with the mobile phone models, which can provide the mobile phone manufacturers to the low level interface outside to the operating system. Now, the digital forensic investigator take an interest on the JTAG method. It can be theoretical, allow the direct access to the mobile devices memory with the geopardizing the it with the geopardized it, and despite the fact that the labor intensive and the time consuming procedure, it is required for the advanced knowledge not only of the JTAG method for the model for the mobile phones investigation, but also how to arrange a new resulting binary composed of the phone's memory structure. Now, the hex dump is a JTAG is another method for the physical extraction of the raw information stored in the flash memories. It is performed by the connecting the forensic workstation to the devices that has been tunneling to the unsigned code of the bootloader into the devices. Each of them carry the instructions of the dump memory from the phones to the computer, resulting the files in the fairly technical in the binary format. It is required to person having the technical education and analyzing it. Furthermore, the examiner comes into the possession of an abundant amount of data, since the data can be recovered. On the top of that, the entire process is very much inexpensive way. Now, the invasive method, that typically there is a longer and more complex process in cases where the devices can be entirely be non-functionable due to the some of the severe damages. It can likely to the only that you can retrieve the data from the devices must be manually been removed, and the images and the flash drive memories chips of the devices, even if the devices items to the good consideration conditions and the circumstances, may require the forensic expert and acquire the chip of the content physically. Now, what is the chip off? The process that defines that refers to the obtaining of data start from the mobile devices is a memory chip. Another, according to the preparation and pertaining to this level, the chip is detached from the devices, and reading of the reading and chip readers from the second phone is extracted, maybe data of the stored and the devices under the investigation process. Now, it should be stored. That is method is technically challenging because of the wide variety of the chips types, and it is required the examiner could proceed with the specific hardware and to conduct that soldering and the heating of the memory chips. Now, the considered the consequent that expertise of the advice of the having the recourse of the chip off when the method of the reconstruction of the already been attempted. It is important to preserve the current state of the device's memory, and the memory chip is only in the element of the mobile device that has been broken. The whole process is consisted of the five stages. Number one, the detect the memory chip topology of the devices. Second is a physical extraction of the chip. For example, it is an unbundling it, interfacing the chip using the reading and programming software, reading and transfer of data from the chip is to a PC, interpretation of the acquisition data using the reverse engineering. The last two phases of the considered, which is those of the invasive method. However, the phases of the physical instructions and the interactions is to the critical outcome the involving analysis. Now, the microarray. The method refers to the manually taking an all-around the view down the lens of the electronically microscope and analyzing the data cell seen on the memory chip. More specifically, the physical data on the chip. It is a nutshell, and the microarray is method of demanding the utmost level of the expertise. It is a very costly, time-consuming, and it is reversed for the serious national security analysis. Now, the tools involved in the digital forensic field. Now, the forensic investigators are always challenging, as you may gather all the information you could have, and for the mitigation and the mitigation plan. And here are some of the computer forensic investigation tool you should more to read. And most of them are free, and few are the premium version. In the available in the premium version, or that you can subscribe that the thing, the whether it is an intellectual human resources cases, the investigation into the unauthorized access to the server, or if you want to learn the new skill, these suits and utilities help to conduct the memory forensic analysis and the hard drive forensic analysis, the forensic images exploration, the forensic imaging, the mobile forensic, such as all the provided the ability to bring back in depth information and what are the shoot under the hood of the system. Now, the first tool used in the digital forensic field is autopsy. Autopsy is a GUI interface based tool in a digital program. It is analyze hard drives, smartphones effectively. Autopsy is used in thousands of years by the users worldwide, and with the thousands of users worldwide, and investigate whether actually what happened in the computer. Now, the second is an encrypted disk detector. The encrypted disk detector is helpful for the check the entire physical drives. It supports the WASCrypt, the TrueCrypt, PGP, BitLocker, and Safe boots are the encrypted volume. The third use is Warshak. The Warshak is a network capture analyzer tool. You can see the happening in the network. Warshak can be handy with the investigate network, then recalliant and the related incident. Magnet RAM capture. You can use the magnet RAM capture to capture the physical evidences, memories, and computer, and analyzing the artifacts in memories. Now, the network miner, an incident network forensic analyzer for the Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, detect OS host name sessions and open ports to the packet sniffing or by the PAB caps, and network miner the provided the extractor artifact as the intrusive use of the interface. Now, the Nmap and the network mapper is an important tool for the network and the security auditing tool. Nmap is also used as supporting most of the operating system, including Linux, Solaris, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, and HP UX, etc. It is a source open for free. And the hashmy file will help the calculate the MD5 and SHA1 hashes. It works almost all the Windows operating system. Now is a cloud response. Responded to the crowd strategy in the Windows application, the system information system information for the incident response. And the security engagement, you can view the result in the XML, the CVS and TVS and HTML with the help of the CR converters. It can run in 32 and 64-bit of the Windows XP above. The CrowdStrike is another the nice tool for the investigation, the totally anonymous with the route and TCP, IP, and DNS traffic through the Tor. A shell lock scanner, the scan your network for the shell lock vulnerability, the vulnerability scanner, the scan your network for the OpenSSL, and the Heartbleed vulnerability. The Toolsly is a more 10 useful tools for the investigations. Is the file signature verifier, the file identifier, hash and validate, binary inspectors, encode the text, data URI generator, and password generators. The stealth kit is in collections of a command line tool to investigate and analyze the volume of the file system for the evidences. And Canine is a computer aided investigation process. It's a Linux distro that offers the complete forensic platform and more than 80 tools you can more than 80 tools for you to analyze, the investigate, and to create an actionable report. Now, the vulnerability is a memory forensic framework. It can be used in an incident response malware analysis. With this tool, you can extract the information from running the process, network sockets, network connection, DLS, registry hives. It can also supports extracting the information from Windows, crash down files, hibernation files, etc. Bulk extractor. Now, it is an important popular digital forensic tool. It can scan the disk images for files or directory files, extract the useful information. This is a process of ignores the system and other similar kinds. And tool, it is basically used for the incident of the law enforcement agencies and to solving the cyber crimes. Now, Oxygen forensic system suit is a investigating the require the gather the information for the mobile phones, support your cases. Oxygen forensics tool standardization is a tool which can help to achieve this. Splico, the Splico is open source network forensic analyzer tool. NAFT is an aims to the extracting of the application data for the internet traffic. The Splico is an extractor of email messages, POP, POP, IMAP, and SMTP server traffic. Features including the support to the multitude protocols, HTTP, SIP, IMAP, TCP, UDP. The TCP resembles and the ability to output data for the MySQL and SQLite databases, among the others. The free hex editor Neo. The free hex editor Neo is a basic hex editor. It is designed to handle the large number of files, while a lot of additional information founded in the commercial version. The hex editor Neo is find the tools useful for the loading the large files, databases files, forensic images, and the process and performing the actions is the manual data crawling to the low level file editing, information gathering, searching of the hidden data. And the last is the FTK imager, which is a very important tool in the forensic toolkit. It is developed by the Access Data. It is used for the get the evidences, and it can create the copy the data without them making charges and the original evidences. And this is the only tool which can allow the specific criteria, and it is a file specific pixel size, data type, and reduce the amount of the irrelevant data. The feature, it can provide the wizard-driven approaches to detect the cybercrime. And this program offer better visualization for the data using a chart. It is recovered the password more than 100 application. It is an advanced and automated data analysis facility. Now, FTK Imager could you helps you to the manage the reusable profiles for different investigation requirement. It supports the pre and the post processing refinement. Now comes to the most important part. Now, how data is stored in a computer. Now, the data using the computer, laptops, mobile phones, concerning the storing or retrieving or transferring of the information in the efficient way. The data is a representative of the model storage devices, using the beneficiary of the numeral data. Now, all data of the storage media, whether it's hard disks, solid state drives, and external hard drive, USB flash drive, SD card, etc., can be converted into the bits and bits, the strings of bits. Now, otherwise known as the binary digits, and these binary digits have a 1 to 0, and the strings are make up of the photos, documents, audio, videos, and the bytes are also important units of the storage, and it goes to the 8 bit. Now, the all data in the computer is stored in a number also been stored in number, whereas the number or the digits 0 to 1 and 0 to 9, the binary digits are the two digital of the possible values. The convention of the number 0 to 8 are translated into the binary numbers from 0, 1, 10, 11, 100, 101, 110, 111, 1000. With the binary numbers, it can be values stored with a series of the items which are either true or the false. The binary data is primarily stored in the hard disks and the hard drives. The devices is made up in the spinning disks and the magnetic reportings and head to them in both the read and write informations and the magnetic pattern. In addition to the hard drives, mobile phones, tablets using the flash drive, SD cards, and solid state. It has been stored in medium. The binary numbers are instead of which is made up of the strings of binary number. Just one number out of place can be used to file to corrupt happen become to the corrupt. Now, what is data recovery? Now, data recovery is a process of restoring the data has been lost accidentally or deleted, corrupted, or made inaccessible way. Now, in enterprises, the IT, the data recovery typically refers to the restoration of data to a desktop, laptop, servers, or external storage system from the backup. Okay. Now, cause of data loss. Now, most of the data loss is caused by the human errors rather than the malicious attack. Now, in fact, the human errors encountered the almost of the two-third of the incident. The most common type of breach encountered with the some of the sending someone send data to the wrong person. Now, the other common data loss is including the out storage, power outages, natural disaster, equipment failures and malfunction, accidental deletion of data, unintentional formatting of hard drives, damaged hard drives, read and write headers, software crashes, logical errors, firmware corruptions, continued use of the computer after the sign of the physical and the digital data, lack of theft, and the spilling of coffees, water on the computer, etc. Now, how data should be recovered? How the data recovery works? The data recovery is a process verifying the depending on circumstances of the data loss, and data recovery software should be created and backup the target media. For example, that many desktop, laptop, backup software platforms allow users to the restore data files themselves, and while restoring of the corrupted database from the tape of the service, and also be used to retrieve the files and which can be backup and accidentally deleted to the computer file system, but still remain on the hard disks and in fragments. Now, the stored data and recovery is possible because the file and information that the files are stored in the different places. For example, the Windows operating system uses a file allocation table, the track, and also file to the hard drives where they can store allocation table, the books tables of contents, while the actual files on the hard drives like the pages and the book, the one data needs to be recovered, allocation tables, and that should be working not properly. The actual files is recovered still on the hard drives in flawless condition. Now, if the file still exists, it damaged, encrypted, it should be recovered, and damage missing or encrypted on the otherwise. If the file is physically damaged, it could be reconstructed. Many applications are Microsoft Office and put the uniform headers at the beginning of the file, designated and their belongings to that of the application. Now, some utilities can be used to reconstruct the file headers manually, so at least some of the files can be recovered. The most of the data recovery process combines the technologies organizations aren't of solely recovering data and recovering of the one core application data from the tip takes time, and you need to access the data immediately after the disaster. It also be a risk involved in the transporting of the tips. Now, in addition, all of the production data is in remote locations must be needed to resume the operation. Therefore, it is widely been identified and left behind what data must be recovered. A data recovery technique, the instant recovery is also known as the recovery in places, tries to eliminate the and recovery windows by redirecting using to the workloads to the backup servers. A snapshot is been created to the backup remaining a pristine state. All the users' rights and operations are redirected to the snapshot, and users on the work of the backup virtual machines, VMwares, and the recovery process being of the background. Users have no ideas to recover taking of the places. Once the recovery is incomplete, the user's workload is redirecting to the back to the original VMs. Now, one of the most important, avoid the time-consuming and constantly process of the data recovery is the preventive data loss. The data loss prevention or DLP's products has been helped the companies to identify and stop data leaks. Comes into the two versions, that is the standalone and integrated position. The standalone DLP's products can be designed and the specialized applications for the sold and software. Integrated DLP products are useful, found in the perimeter, security gateways, and useful for detecting sensitive data at the rest and in motion. Unlike the standalone data loss position products, integrated the DLP product usually do not shares cell management consoles, policies management engines, and the data storage. Now, the very important thing in the, before we move to the digital forensic field is the chain of custody. Now, the chain of custody refers to the logical sequences, and the record of the sequences is the custody, control, transfer, analysis, and the deposition of the physical, electronic, and digital evidences in the legal cases. And now, each step in the chain is essentially as if broken, that the evidences may be rendered in admissible way. Thus, we can say that the preserving the chain of custody is about the following of the correct and the consistent procedure, hence ensuring of the quality of evidences. Now, what is the chain of custody in terms of digital cyber forensic? The chain of custody, digital cyber forensic, is also known as the paper trail, forensic link, chronological documents of the evidences. The chain of custody incidents, the collection, the process of sequences, transfer of analysis. It is also the document details of each person who handled the evidences, the data and time collection, preservation, the process of the transfer. The process of transfer, it demonstrates the trust and the courts and the client of the evidences has not hampered, is not tampered. The digital evidences is acquired from the metadata of the devices. It is the vast number of IoT devices, audio evidences, video recordings, images, and other stored data can be hard drives or flash drives or other physical medias. Importance of the maintaining of chain of custody, the importance of the examiner to preserve the integrity of the evidences, to preserve the evidences from the contamination, which can alter the state of evidences. It causes, in case you are obtaining the metadata, the piece of evidence is unable to extract any meaningful information from the metadata. In such cases, the chain of custody helps to slow what the possible evidences might lie, and cater to the type of the equipment used, and this will help to generate the number of compare evidences and confirm the evidences with the property. Now, importance of the court. Now, if it is preserved, the evidences submitted in the court might be challenged and should be ruled in admissible way. The chain of custody process is in order to preserve the digital evidence, the chain of custody should be spanned from the first step, the data collection, to the examination, analysis, reporting, at the time of presentation to the court. And it is very important to avoid the possibility of any suggestions of the evidences has been compromised in any way. And data collection, examination, analysis, and reporting, the media data information and evidence is the flow diagram of an chain of custody. Now, let's discuss about the each stage of chain of custody in detail. Now, data collection, it is where the chain of custody process has been initiated, and it involves identification, labeling, recording, acquisition of data from the possibles and relevant sources, and preserving the integrity of the data and the evidence collections. And the examinations are during this process in the chain of custody information. The document outline the forensic process involved and undertaken. It is an important capture, snapshot, screenshot throughout the process, and show the tasks and complete with the evidences uncovered. Analysis. Now, this stage is result of the evidences examination in the analysis legally justifiable method and the technique you actually used to derive the information, the useful information to address the question and propose with the particular cases. And reporting, it is a documentation phase of the examinations and analysis stage. The reporting includes the following of the statement regarding chain of custody, explanation to the various tools used, the description analyzing the digital resources, valuable identifying the vulnerabilities identified, recommendation of the additional forensic measure that can be taken, the chain of forensic, the chain of custody form. In order to in order to prove the chain of custody, you should know about the form that has been entitled into how the evidence was handled in each step of the way. The form should be could be answered and the following every question: what is the evidences? For example, digital information includes the file name, MD5 hashes. Hardware information includes the serial number, asset ID, host name, photos, and description. Now, how to get it? Now, for example, bake tag or pulled off from the desktop. Now, when it is collected, the return time, who has handled it, the IO officers or the investigating name, why did the person handle it, now where it has been stored. This includes information about the physical location of which the proof has been stored, information to the storage and used to be stored in the forensic image. Now, how do you transport it? For example, it is a sealed on a static bag. The secure storage container. Now how it has been stored? For example, it has been securely the stored container. It has been stored container who has access to the evidences. Now this involves the developing and check-in and check-out process. The COC or the POC must be kept to up to date. The chain of custody form should be up to date, and this means that every time the best evidences has been handled off, and the chain of custody form needs to be updated. The procedure of the establishment of the chain of custody, in order to ensure the authenticity of the chain of custody, the series of steps should be followed. And it is an important note that the more of the informations of the forensic expert obtain the concerning of the evidences, the more authentic is it created. Chain of custody, you should ensure that defined following procedure and followed according to the chain of custody in the electronic devices. Save the original material, take the photos of the physical evidences, take the screenshot of the digital evidences, document date, time, any other information on the receipt of the document, inject a bit for the bit clone of digital evidences contained into the forensic computers, performing a hash test, analyzing, authenticate the working clone. Now, how can a chain of custody can be ensured? The couple of considerations should be involved. Digital dealing with the digital evidences chain of custody. We shall discuss the most important, globally accepted and practice the best practice. Never ever work with the original evidences. The biggest consideration that need to be taken care of while dealing with the digital evidences is the forensic expert has to make a full copy of the evidences for the forensic analysis, and this cannot be overlooked as important. The need of the original copy, the ensuring of the storage devices has been sterilized. It is important to ensure that the examination storage devices is forensically clean and according of the evidences, and suppose in the examination storage media infected with the malware. In this case, the malware can accept into the machine, while the documentation of the evidence should be eventually get compromised. Now, documents of any other with the extra scope during the process of examination, it is an important document of all such information has been beyond the scope of the current legal authority that are brought into the attention of the cases agent, and the comprehensive report must be contained the following section: the identity of the reporting agencies, the case identifier, the case investigators, identify the submitters, date of receipt, date of report, descriptive type of the items submitted for the examination. This could be the serial number, make and model, and identify the signature of the examination, the brief description of the the steps are taken during the examination. For example, the string searches, graphical graphics, image search, and recover of the erased files. The result, they consider the safety of the person of the scene. It is very important to ensure that the cyber crime and the crime scene is fully ensured, secure before doing the searches. In some cases, the examiner may be able to do the following while on site: identify the number of the types of the computers, interview of the file system, administrator users, identify the documentation type, volume of media. It is include the removable media also. Now, determine if the network is present, the documentation or information of the location which has been identified has been removed. Now, identify the offsite storage areas of the remote the computing location, identify the property of the software, and determination of the software, the determining the system acquisitions and questions. Digital evidence and the digital chain of custody are the one of the most the important and the backbone of any action taken by the digital forensic specialist. Now, this is all about the digital forensic. Before we you have to got more. And the CHFI is a computer Hacking Forensic Investigation is a course module. Please come and join CHFI, which is a very good course for the digital forensic. If you know, you can learn about the digital forensic, and there are lots of things. There are a lot of tools we use for the digital forensic, for retrieving of data, for using for the crime scene. Okay. If you join, if you get the course of the CHFI from EC Council globally, now you can get the job from different government sectors, which you give the license for the digital forensic. You can get the job in CBIs. You can get the job in CFSLs, in Central Forensic Science Laboratories. You can also work with some private companies who can hire the digital forensic investigator as an employee. So come and join CHFI for these things. Now I will give you a short demo on autopsy tool, which has been used in digital forensic field. Okay, see, this is the only is my this is my pen drive, which has been written. So this is a Piyush file. So this is a my pen drive is allocated in the local dex, and I want to retrieve the data, which is a past deleted data. I want to retrieve the data from this local disk or from my pen drive. I just run the autopsy tool, which is the most important tool in the digital forensic field. And this is an autopsy. Make it run. It takes some time for starting them to run the tool. Now see, if we want to retrieve the data from that past deleted files in my laptop, now I first have to create a new case. Now it will give you the case number. Now what is the case number? If I give the case number here, say I give the case number randomly, here is a 111, and the folder should be created in the drive C. In a C drive, the folder should be created. Then this type is a single users, or you can transfer it to the multiple users. So, means that you are not you and also the others people can handle these cases, and then we have to just got the next and the name of the forensic investigator or the examiner who examined this case, to give the phone number detail and the email ID notes. If you just add a note on it, so it is an evidence number 111. Retrieve the give the location, say Nagpur. I'm giving the location of Nagpur. Well, from Nagpur I have just retrieve the data from that and give the case number, that is which is the 111. I have already been given from then finish the thing, and see it will create a great case, and it will automatically create the case. Mm, and see in my desktop background, it automatically create the cases, which is a file extraction of this cases. So it take 2 to 3 days or even more for creating the different types of module from the retrieving of the files that has been deleted from my pen drive. So it's a long process, and then it's a local disk, and it will take the unspecified disk format. Now you have to give the Piyush name, that is I've given the Piyush. I have selected the device, and then give that is a Calcutta. I'm located here. It's can auto detect it. Now it's the next. Now recently activities hash lookup files, the extension of the match detectors, all are the previously that we are giving. To report to generate our report, then I have to next the thing and see that that is the adding of data resource, it is already being processing. And see the data is already been created, and it is already been started to acquire the data. It has been started. So I just off it and click it off, and the thing which is that and see there is a 111. The folder has been already been created by autopsy tool, which is a very useful tool in the digital forensic field. And you can gain very different types of packages. You can gain the different types of packages and different types of lost data, and you can retrieve your all data from the digital forensic in the digital forensic field. And this is all of yours. So I must say that you will join the digital forensic from ICSS. I will teach you how to gain access in the CHFI field. That's all for today. Thank you very much for joining this masterclass of cyber forensic from ICSS. Thank you.